Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm taking a look at the Eachine E010S Pro Tiny Whoop. Now, I know a lot of you are going to take one look at this and switch off, and that might be a mistake because this model might look daft, but there's actually some interesting new tech built into it. So let's get it out of the way because this shark canopy was definitely a mistake. Not only does it make the model look like a toy, but it's also covering everything up. I mean, where's the USB port and where's the bind button? How do you change the channel on the camera? And the answer is, well, it's all under here, and not only that, the FPV camera's been taped to the canopy, so when you do try and remove the canopy by undoing the screws, you have to rip out the camera from the sticky pads, and that's just a bad design. And, you know, if the only way to get this model going is to take the top off, then they could have given you a screwdriver in the package, but no, there isn't one. Anyways, that's actually pretty much all of the bad stuff out of the way, and under this canopy is a flight controller that they're calling the Lemon F3, which is apparently an open source flight controller, and I can't find any information on it whatsoever, so my guess is that they've changed the name or something like that. And it's an all-in-one Tiny Whoop flight controller with betaflight on-screen display, but get this, it's using an SPI-based receiver, which means that it can send its telemetry back to your transmitter, so you can do RSSI and battery voltage back to your Taranis. And I know a lot won't be bothered by that because of the on-screen displays that we have these days, but I also know that telemetry has a fan base out there, so this might interest you. So if you don't know what SPI is, it's the same way that multi-wheel on-screen display got implemented into flight controllers without using a separate board and a UART, and we now call that betaflight on-screen display. And this board has done the same with the receiver, so it doesn't take up any UART, and the receiver is built into the board, so it also means that we can have telemetry without using S-port. Now, this is the D8 version, so you can't do Lua scripts like you can with the D16 receivers, and apparently the FlySky version will also send your telemetry voltage back to the transmitter as well. But for DSM2 and DSMX, it's not mentioning any telemetry, so bear that in mind. There is a slight downside to this protocol though. The bind sequence is different. So to get it to bind, you first have to plug the battery into the copter and wait a few seconds, and then you hold down the bind button for a couple of seconds and it'll go into a binding mode, which is better than trying to fiddle around pressing the button down while powering everything on, but it does mean that the bind information is stored within betaflight, so if you upgrade betaflight, then you will have to rebind. However, at the making of this video, that won't be a problem because the flight controller seems to be using some bespoke version of betaflight. It's flashed with version 3.23 and the target is Lemon F3-FreeSky V2. And a Google search returns no results for that at all, so it looks like some kind of custom firmware has been made just for this flight controller. Oh, apparently as well, there should be a lower latency using SPI, so that's a good thing. So there's some pretty nice tech in this Tiny Whoop toy, and we also have some Racer Star 615 motors which are connecting to the flight controller with JST plugs, so that's easy to replace. The camera is a 25mW 40 channel all-in-one including race band. And we have a elongated sleeve dipole antenna which is designed to fit through the shark's tail. My advice would be to do away with the canopy and maybe tape the camera on top or find a 3D printed mount. You know, there's a lot of Tiny Whoops out there with this sizing, so that shouldn't be a problem. Now, it's not running a Tiny Whoop style battery, and it's the same as all of the other E010s, so it's a 240 mAh 45C non-high volt one cell, which I think is going to affect its punch a little bit. It weighs 21 grams without a battery and 29 grams with a battery. You get a user manual, a USB charger, some rubber bands, and some spare sticky tape for the camera. We also have a prop remover and a spare set of props. Now, the betaflight setup was pretty nice actually. It's got some custom PIDs in there as well. The D value is around about 90, so someone's definitely been in there and had a play with those. And I think I turned motor stop off and moved the on-screen display around a little bit. I added arming as a mode because it was just on the rudder, but things like air mode was turned on and anti-gravity, so it's got a few nice settings in there, and despite its toyish looks, I don't think the price is too bad either. Okay, let's take a look at the indoor performance of this guy. So I have no doubt that on a calm day you could fly it outdoors, but they are designed for indoors. So let's see what the punch is like for indoors. Yeah, I mean, it's what you'd expect from a tiny whoop. I think a high volt battery would give it a little bit more oomph. But there you go. It's plenty for indoors. Let's have a look what the yaw is like on the descent. Sometimes tiny whoops can suffer with yaw movement. This has a little bit, you know, it's nothing that I'm not expecting really. It seems really stable, but most tiny whoops usually are. You know, we're indoors, so we don't have any breeze or anything like that blowing it around. So I want to check out the altitude hold mode, also known as barometer. So I put it on a switch, so I've got the throttle in the middle, and let's see what happens. Now there's definitely a movement there, so I've got the throttle in the middle, but I use a ratchet on my throttle, and I'm just having a look here, and yeah, it's not hovering, it's just sort of bouncing. So one click makes it go up and one click makes it go down. So yeah, I've never successfully managed to get altitude hold working well, or at all should I say, in Betaflight, and the same here. Yeah, so I will come out of that. So let's try acro. Might need to give it a little bit more power on the recovery if I want to do like flips and stuff. Yeah, a little bit more throttle than a high volt, but it is still possible. Do I dare to do a roll? Yeah, just about, to make sure I set my rates so that my muscle memory kicks in, because there's not much margin for error indoors when doing acro. Oh yeah, needed a bit more throttle there, but yeah, you can do acro with this guy, just about. So here is some DVR footage. You might notice the camera is looking a little bit wonky, and that's because when you remove that canopy to get to the bind button and your camera for the channels, whatever it is you are needing to change, then when you put the canopy back on, it's really difficult to get the camera to sit straight. So yeah, this flight was done with the Shark canopy on the top. So I'm seeing some people in the comments say that I'm changing too many things when I get these models and I should just fly them out of the box. So I would say to that is, there are just some things that I have to change when I review a model, you know, like my rates, you know. And also the on-screen display. I really struggle with using other people's on-screen display position because I'm so used to looking in a certain place. So I'm going to switch that around. And the horizon bars were turned on with this one. I just don't like it. But yeah, I took the copter all around the house, and as you can see, there wasn't a room that it struggled with. So impressed with the range of the video and also the range of the receiver. You'll notice there's no RSSI value on the on-screen display, and it does come like that. So yeah, despite this being a telemetry receiver, what you would have to do in order to get the RSSI on the on-screen display would be to forward the RSSI to a channel. Now, I did a video on this, I think it was the Flex Rssi Komori. So if you go and watch that video, I show how to do that. But yeah, you have to forward the RSSI value to, I think, channel 8 or something like that. I suppose it could be any channel these days with Betaflight, which converts it to a PWM value, and then you send that back to the copter and select it as an aux channel. But yeah, this flew really great actually. I was quite impressed with it. You know, I could thread the needle all through the house, and it's nice to see that they have worked on the PID. So I mentioned earlier that the D value was 90. The D value is less effective on a brushed model, so you have to bump that up. But yeah, I was impressed to see a little bit of effort there, because a lot of the time they just, you know, flash these with just stock everything and you have to do all of the work, but something has been done there. So yeah, flies nice, goes all around the house, and I think it's a decent price as well. I just wish that they hadn't included this shark canopy. Whoever's idea that was, just get rid of them. They are not doing you any good whatsoever, and it makes it look like a toy, it makes it look cheap, and this copter is better than that. The flight time, not bad. I think it was about 3.5 minutes, so pretty impressive there. The video feed, pretty clear as well. I'm not seeing much noise at all. There is a little bit of dirt on the camera sensor. That always bothers me, and it's glued in, so you can't really get rid of that. But just look at this thread in the needle there. Yeah, little quality control with the camera, so be aware of that. But that's my battery, so I'll put a link in the description if you wish to get one, and I'm hurrying to find a landing spot. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.